Hi there, welcome to ILM Fly Tarot. Oops. I'm going to do a tarot card reading for Scorpio energy. And we're going to get the cards out, and then we're going to read it from kind of a couple different perspectives. If you harness some more high vibrational Scorpio energy, which life is about kind of learning these lessons, and Scorpio is about kind of getting to know yourself emotionally and kind of, we're emotionally confusing people. We have a lot of emotions. We have conflicting emotions. And it's about getting to know the truth of who you are kind of emotionally, why you feel and think the way that you do, and kind of working through the confusion of your emotions and letting your emotions kind of run your life. We're not meant to kind of let our emotions or our mind or our fear or our lust or our greed or all those things control us. It's learning to work with them, understand them a little bit more, and realize how those things could manipulate us in a more shadowy way. And just like we could get to know ourselves more emotionally and connect in more with ourselves emotionally, and the emotional nature can be our kind of intuitive, creative nature. There's going to be some people who don't want to do that because they could find their emotions more confusing. And so they could just, shadowy Scorpio can be where I'm just going to bury that underneath the surface, not really connecting with my emotions, like use them as I need to, kind of maybe use my emotions more manipulatively. But they could end up being people that you feel aren't that emotionally mature, or are kind of more emotionally manipulative. And it can be hard to have a more deep, meaningful relationship with someone who doesn't even like to connect in with their emotions. And so if you don't really want to connect in with your emotions and really do more deep, meaningful relationships, if you are in relationships, a person who's more shadowy just could be more superficial, shallow, want to be in a relationship for all these other reasons of why people want to be in a relationship, just maybe not really do love, kind of is the crux of it. So let's go see what's going on in Scorpio energy. We have the Eight of Pentacles, the High Priestess, and the Ten of Wands. And the reason that came out is because of the Star card. Right now, people are putting in work and effort into their idea of the dream life. At the end of the story, we have the Empress, which is Libra and Taurus energy emotionally, since that's a feminine figure that talks about how we think and feel. Some people in their Libra and Taurus energy within themselves could think it's just and fair to be more about the world, or shadowy Aquarius can be more about themselves. You're either putting in work and effort to be more inspired by the world. The Ten of Wands is Sagittarius energy, so in your Virgo, your Cancer and Pisces, the other two water signs, and your Sagittarius energy, you're more emotionally inspired to maybe put in work and effort to look victorious and successful, or to be more about yourself, maybe hide that you kind of like it, are more about yourself and indulge yourself. That can be shadowy Sagittarius that anybody can harness. And for some people, that is their truth. Again, in their Libra and Taurus energy, Libra represented by the scales of justice, of what they think is just and fair, and Taurus can talk about our philosophy of life at any given moment. At any given moment, some people are more immature. And emotionally, they are more about themselves for the world. And to a degree, I think all of us, for the first 30, 50 years of our life, we're pretty caught up in these things of the world. There's a lot of things we want to go indulge in the younger that we are. And then as we get older, there's other things that we want to put work and effort in to manifest that is part of our idea of the dream life. Aquarius can be about what our dreams are and how we envision our life and our idea of the dream life. And for the first 50 years, we can be really motivated and inspired to put in a lot of work and effort to manifest those things. And some people are still really motivated and inspired by those things. Other people over time, could be, yes, they're inspired by those things of the world just like everybody else, but in their emotional water sign nature of Cancer and Pisces, there's more to it than just that. It's about also equally being inspired by love. And Virgo in high vibe is about learning lessons in life and listening to your intuition. And Virgo can be about being more balanced within yourself. They harness a more high vibe Empress energy of Libra and Taurus that, yes, I want these things in the world just like everybody else, but not so much that I kind of make that the sole focus of my life. It's about learning these lessons, listening to my intuition, and then Sagittarius is about higher learning and education. As I go through life, I learn lessons in life. That's Virgo and Sagittarius. And high vibe energy is about maintaining balance. So, yes, I'm inspired by some of these things of the world. And I, too, anybody has their shadow nature. I can get caught up in those things. I could be more immature, self-indulgent, things like that. That would be like kind of being a bad mother to yourself. And do you indulge your more immature nature, your more egotistical nature, your more worldly nature? Some people do. Other people try to be like a good mother to themselves to maintain more balance within themselves. Are there things in my more immature nature I'd like to go do or go indulge in? Probably at any given time if we didn't think there was any repercussions, right? But other people have learned these lessons that if I go repeat some poor behavior, I have a dream. It's going to keep me from accomplishing some of the things I want to manifest in my life. So, based on these lessons I've learned and looking at life from a higher perspective and listening to my intuition, even when there could be things I would really like to go do that maybe aren't in alignment with my giving birth to something new, because the Empress is about giving birth to something new, I need to kind of temper my more immature egoic nature, you know? And sadly, and the tens can talk about completing a cycle. Part of my dream is to keep growing and maturing myself, not repeating old patterns, so I can give birth to something new, in alignment with me growing and maturing myself. Some people are doing that and we're putting in work and effort to listen to their intuition. They know they're at the end of a cycle. They've kind of learned everything they needed to learn at that phase of life, and they're ready to give birth to something new. And other people in the world can kind of be the opposite of that. It's like, nope, I don't want to give birth to anything new. I want to keep moving forward the way I've been moving forward. And that's fine. Everybody can do what they want to do. But, if we're kind of in workplaces, friendships, and relationships with people, and we feel like to more indulge their more immature nature, worldly nature, being more about themselves nature, be just more about the world. And if that's not our truth, then, we might want to close out cycles with them, and they might want to close out cycles with us, because our philosophy of life, of what we think is just and fair, and kind of what drives and motivates us, and our idea of the dream life is different. So it's to accept the truth in the Sun card, kind of being illuminated to the truth, with the Judgment card here, in the Death card, that, with some people in our life, we can't have that new beginning. The Death card in high vibe is about death and transformation. We see the truth of what's dead, kind of. What are some of the habits and patterns, vices, ways of thinking, ways of living life that we need to let go of and detach from, called judgment on it, so that we can take this action in the King of Wands to have a new beginning. After the Ten of Swords, we would come out with the Ace of Swords. I've kind of worked through all these different thoughts in my head. There's all these things I put in work and effort into that at one time I was really motivated and inspired to live my life that way. And so we did. But then during the course of living our life that way, we became illuminated we learn things. We're not the same person we were before. And some people saw what needed to go so that they could close out a cycle. Because in the Three of Wands, kind of like Aquarius, it talks about, I have this dream. And the difference between the Ten of Wands and the Three of Wands is the Seven of Wands. In order to move forward in life more authentically, we have to deal with the truth. We can always go get a new job, a new friendship, a new relationship. But if we haven't kind of learned some lessons from that last phase of life, we're the same person that we were in the last job, friendship, or relationship. We didn't heal or grow and mature ourselves. And the difference between the 10 and the 3 is letting go of the 7 of Wands, which is Leo energy of like a layer of our ego nature. Maybe our more immature nature, our more worldly nature, being more about our self nature, seeing the truth of things that manipulate us, things that aren't conducive to us continuing to move forward. And part of it can just be the 7 of Wands can be our defensiveness to change, our defensiveness to seeing the truth, because the truth sets us free, our defensiveness to holding ourselves accountable for our actions or afraid of what other people will say. If we kind of get out of our ego nature and go really live our more authentic life aligned with our truth. And we can all, we all want these friendships or relationships. That's kind of in our more worldly nature. And there's these things we might like to indulge in or manifest. But can we do that, be in those friendships and relationships and manifest those certain things while still willing to hold ourselves and other people accountable? Because a more shadowy relationship, which can be a more shadowy Taurus type relationship, is where you feel like you have to compromise your truth and your dream to kind of indulge someone else in poor behavior. Or it's not a just and fair and balanced relationship. Because high vibe energy is just and fair. You're supposed to treat other people the way you like to be treated. If it's a romantic relationship, it's supposed to be because of love. And hopefully people would work together with people because they like them, they love them. But in order to do that, people have to come out from thinking it should be more about them, or them being indulged, or them being able to be more defensive to being more authentic, or having to change, or having to close out old cycles, As we go through life, it's kind of why I have the nesting dolls over there. We lived our life like a 15-year-old, an 18-year-old, a 21-year-old, a 25-year-old. As we went through all of those stages, we learned lessons in life. And we kind of saw the truth. Oh, if I want to be more like this next stage of life, I have to put an end to some of those old ways of being. I need to quit defending some of those old ways of thinking or viewing myself or viewing the world or conducting myself, I need to shed a layer of my ego nature. I need to call judgment on it. I need to see the truth of what needs to go, and it's not more about me. If I keep making it more about me, the King of Wands is Aries energy, which is about the self. If they keep doing that, other people are going to quit moving forward with them. That's a 7 of Wands, can be where you're moving forward with someone and you're defending it because you think it's inspired like by the same truth. And if they really are kind of more about themselves or more about the world or more about the ego and image or more defensive and not more independent, not willing to grow and heal and mature themselves, deal with the truth of things, then some other people are going to move on from them. And that could be happening. That has happened in different relationships and friendships. And it will continue to happen in friendships and relationships. It's kind of like, we can get in relationships with people sometimes for these maybe more worldly reasons. We can be attracted to someone. Uh, we can get in a job or a friendship or a relationship. We could have a lot of things in common. But then as time goes by, you know, are we inspired by, do we keep being inspired maybe by the same dream? The Seven of Wands in shadow can be that people are like, this is great, let's keep doing this like forever. In the Death card, I don't want to give birth to anything new. I want to keep moving forward exactly the way I'm moving forward and the way we've been moving forward. That's my idea of the dream life, and it could be I don't want to take more inspired action in my life. And again, that's fine. If people have their way of living life and they're happy living their life that way, it's just that other shadowy energy can be where it's like dead and stagnant. It's at the Ten of Wands. It's at the Ten of Swords. There's nothing new to learn here. It's dead. We've done it over and over and over and over. We've learned all the lessons we're meant to learn. There is nothing new to give birth to. But in order to give birth to something new, people would have to drop the Ten of Wands, and from the Ten of Wands, kind of go to the King of Wands. Again, being more inspired within themselves to maybe work through, in the Ten of Swords, all their fears, all their insecurities, all their self-limiting beliefs, to believe in themselves. The Three of Wands, like the King of Wands, is Aries, and Aries is about the self. To quit backstabbing themselves, to love themselves, to believe in themselves, to be willing to deal with the truth about what needs to change, because they keep repeating an old pattern over and over and over. But another way of looking at that can just be that some people will never be more inspired to look at life from a higher perspective. They might say they look at life from a higher perspective. But they might think there is no other purpose to being on the planet. That's the extent of how they view life in a more shadowy Aquarius energy. It's about the world, it's about me, it's about conforming to the world, it's about indulging in these things of the world, there is no other truth to aspire to. But other people could think there is. So you kind of look at life differently. And, other people think, shadowy energy can be where, no, the most important thing is, we need to work with these things of the world. That's the most important thing. That's what we have to work with. And other people think, no, I have my more creative, inspired, intuitive, it's like that there's more to work with, and there's also a higher purpose to being on the planet. And in high vibe, it would be putting in work and effort to grow and mature myself, get out of my more worldly egoic nature, keep shedding layers of that old egoic nature, keep growing and maturing myself and calling judgment on my more immature, stubborn, prideful, lazy, egotistical, self-centered, more materialistic, more self-indulgent nature. Close out, detach from that more worldly dream. And then the Two of Swords is Libra energy, harnessing high vibe Libra energy, that I do have this dualistic nature in me. I do have my more worldly nature. I have my more intuitive nature. High vibe Libra, that anybody can harness, is maintaining balance within yourself. Yes, I want some of these things of the world just like everybody else, but I'm also able to give birth to new things. If I keep loving and believing in myself and growing and healing and maturing myself, I can keep giving birth to more mature, more independent, more free, less less manipulated by the world and my worldly nature and my ego and things like that. And then we have the Magician, the Knight of Pentacles, the Page, the Ace of Wands, the Six of Pentacles, the Six of Wands, and the Page of Wands. So the way this could be read from a more high vibe perspective is that, again, all of us initially in the world, we can be motivated and inspired by love, but because we're so manipulated by the world and we have all these lessons learned, that's like high vibe Virgo and Sagittarius, we have so many lessons to learn about living in the world and kind of having this dualistic nature. And we all have free will to decide what our truth is. And some people will decide, yep, nope, I'm not doing that. I'm going to be more about me and the world and these things. And other people are like, that could keep me more tipped in favor, which is how I view the sevens, is that we're more tipped in favor of being more about ourselves or these things of the world. And then those things can really manipulate us. And high vibe people want, in high vibe Libra, to be more balanced within themselves. And that's kind of a dream they have, to quit indulging their more immature nature, thinking whatever those things are that they indulge in, or making it more about them or more about these things of the world, or just being in these friendships or relationships. That's the answer. That'll make me happy. And other people kind of realize that, it's a little tipped out of balance and they want it to be more balanced. And so they kind of shift from being more tilted in favor of these things of the world to being more tilted in favor of letting their more loving, intuitive, because that's high vibe Empress, high vibe Libra and Taurus, that there's more to life than what the world tells us to make our life about. And, there is kind of, high vibe Taurus is the Hierophant of kind of being a spiritual leader in the world and really growing and maturing yourself in all these different ways, and maintaining more balance within yourself so that yes, you live in the world and you want these things, but you also do have this other aspect to you, which is your more creative, inspired, intuitive, loving nature. And that's equally as important. Being in jobs and friendships more for the status or the ego or the image, some people can be fine with that because that is what they think is most important. And that's kind of their truth in a more shadowy Libra, Taurus, Scorpio, emotional nature of life. And other people are like, I can't live my life like that. I need it more balanced because I do have this emotionally intuitive, creative nature. And that would be high vibe Scorpio, I want to be in more deep, meaningful relationships. I don't want to be in job and friendships and relationships just to indulge myself, or just to be in a friendship or relationship, or maybe I'm having to indulge someone else. I don't want to be in a job just because of the status of the image of it. I mean, I'd like to be in a job that I really like it. And I feel like I'm treated in a just and fair and loving and encouraging way, versus shadowy Scorpio, the Death card and the King of Wands, and the Leo card can be where people are being more manipulative or bossy or controlling. You should stay here and do this, but yet we're going to be in shadowy energy. Your dream isn't going to come into reality. It's not going to ever be more just and fair, or people acting with character and integrity, or more inspired by love, And some people are like, I have free will. In a world of duality, I can stay where people are creating a little hell on earth, or I could listen to my intuition, and out of love for myself, I believe in a world of duality where we have free will choice. that those two different options of kind of extremes have to exist in the world. And if I'm in friendship or relationship with people or workplace where people are being more shadowy, and my intuition is kind of telling me I could keep staying there, but the Ten of Wands can be that I feel really overwhelmed. And the Ten of Swords could be that I kind of feel backstabbed and betrayed, because it's less about the ego and the image of it. It's about, is it aligned with my truth and what motivates and inspires me? And if being in things more for the ego or the image or the fear or the insecurity or the codependency doesn't outweigh my loving in myself and believing in myself, I'm going to leave that job, friendship, or relationship. I am going to listen to my intuition. And then in the Magician, which is Gemini, which is our dualistic nature of free will, and Virgo nature, I'm going to invest in the Knight of Pentacles, my truth. And then the Ace of Pentacles can be in all three of your fire sign energies within yourself, in your Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. You are more inspired in yourself in the Six of Pentacles, which is also Taurus energy, to want to be in more just and fair and balanced relationships, friendships, and workplaces. And in the Seven of Wands, oh no, this one's the Six of Wands. That's what you view as victorious and successful. And that's kind of in the Page of Wands. You add the one wand to the Six of Wands, and then you have the Seven of Wands. That's more what motivates and inspires you, that you view as victorious and successful, and how you want to move forward, and what you think is just and fair. And so it's just this process throughout our life that we meet all these different people in the world. We can like them. They can be our friends, our family members, co-workers, neighborhood people. We can know all sorts of people in the world, and we could be attracted to different people. We could find people charming. We could find lots of different things and we can have different, we could do different activities with different people. Like, I could go hang out and do whatever, softball or bowling, or I could work with someone, or I could be in an organization with someone. Can I work with them and kind of enjoy them in that situation? We can all get along okay? Yeah. Are they someone I might more want to be more involved with outside of that? Maybe not. And just like we feel that way about some people feel that way about us, right? I mean, it's a normal thing in life. We have a dream. We're all at these different stages of our emotional maturity level and our fears and our insecurities, and things we're motivated and inspired by, and things we like to invest our time, energy, and effort into. And we're looking for people who seem to be more on the same page as us at any given time. And we can stay in some relationships for quite a while. We could be loving and encouraging to each other, and then maybe one person's kind of ready to move forward a little different and the other person isn't. They want to keep doing that or living their life the way they live it, and we lived our life like that, but it's like, I don't want to keep doing that, so then I want to go do these things. And so then we might go do those things, and some of those people we can still be in, maintain some type of friendship and relationship with them. For some of them, it won't last. It kind of makes me think about, sometimes people can have, say, more like a bar crowd or something, that you could have people at the bar that, yes, if you go there on Friday or Saturday night or whatever day of the week it is that a person goes to a bar, and say it's a bar where it's kind of the same people and you kind of know those people, but are those the people you'd maybe call if you needed a ride somewhere, or you were going to the hospital, or to go on vacation with? Maybe not some of them. Can you get along in that in that particular environment? Does it all work out okay? Yeah, but it's not. everybody to a certain degree cannot be inspired to want to. And so the Eight of Pentacles could be more like work, and the Six of Pentacles in this case is kind of coming across like more someone that we exchange more time, energy, and effort with, right? And that we'd maybe want to get to know more. In the Page of Wands, no, we have these different people. We all do, right? But probably the big reason why people come to tarot is because it was someone that you had thought was going to keep moving forward with you. Whether it was your adult child, brother, sister, mom, dad, a long-term friend, a romantic interest. There was some people in our life that we really wanted to have move forward with us, but what if over time, again, we could initially, things can work out, but then what if over time, again, we might kind of, maybe one person did seem like they felt like they were either having to put more of the work and effort. The Eight of Pentacles could either kind of represent that, or the Ten of Wands could represent that. And we kind of feel like it's not balanced. And again, as we kind of grow up in our life, the things that, why we might be willing to put up with certain things in workplaces, friendships, and relationships can change over time as we kind of grow up and mature ourselves and maybe love ourselves and believe in ourselves and learn these lessons. And, it is kind of getting more clear about my truth and what I think is just and fair. And again, am I more willing to maybe compromise my truth and indulge people because I want that friendship or that relationship? Well, how much of my truth do I have to compromise and what I think is just and fair to keep maintaining that friendship or the relationship? And, we can get to where we kind of feel like someone does want to kind of be more indulged in the relationship. And that, of course, they could think is just and fair, and they want people to keep indulging them. And other people over time could start to see that, kind of feeling like, I kind of wonder if I quit, in the Death card, quit taking action towards that, what'll happen? What if it's not me taking the action to keep putting in the work and effort to maintain that friendship or relationship or try to make it more just and fair? Well, you might kind of find out that, the other people are like, oh, well, if you're not willing to more indulge me, I'll just go find someone else who does. And, you kind of see the truth of it. And it's kind of like, I don't want to be in a relationship where it seems like I'm the one always having to put in more of the work and effort to make it just and fair. If everybody would want to, is equally motivated and values it, they would be willing to kind of get out of their immature nature, being more about themselves, or their more defensive nature or whatever, to work together with me in that way. And if not, then it's like seeing my dream, that stage of life. And again, we can be loving and encouraging to each other during stages of life for each other, and we could help each other even work through a phase of life. But then what if we all do start to feel more up on our feet again? Or, are we still on the same page? Because again, there's a lot of different reasons why people can get in friendship and relationship. We could have gotten in a friendship because, we were just more immature and wanted to indulge in some things. So we got in some friendships with some other people who wanted to indulge in those things. Could we have had a great time? Yeah. Is our long-term idea of how we want to live our life and kind of what we want to give birth to as we keep moving forward the same? No. And so then it's kind of like that phase of life. It doesn't keep moving forward, What's that saying? Some people come into your life for a period of time, and some keep moving forward, and we can go through several cycles with people, But eventually we could get down to some core truths about, we can work through a lot of different things in a relationship. Everybody can kind of grow and heal and mature themselves in different ways. But eventually we might realize that we have some real core foundational differences of maybe what in our philosophy of life of what we think is just and fair. And that can be when a relationship ends. Shadowy two of swords can be people who want to keep staying in denial of the truth. We can work through some things with people, but maybe we get down to a core foundational truth that some people, like that one, nope, I'm not going to, that one I don't want to deal with, right? And again, it could be to stop being more about themselves. And some people, it can be very hard for them to see the truth that they could be looking for someone to mother them. They want to be willing to do a lot of other things to make a relationship work, but they kind of think they should be kind of more the indulged person in the relationship in some shape or form, male or female, employee or employer, mom or dad or child or brother or sister or friend or family member, and that in their Taurus philosophy of life, those are very kind of embedded things that we could have gotten from our family growing up, our community, our friendship group, our state, our country that we grew up in. And it's very hard to change those ways of viewing life that we kind of think are just and fair. And some people, it was just all themselves, the more immature, selfish, bossy, controlling, egotistical, manipulative, full of themselves they are. Of course, they think that makes perfect logical sense. And they kind of indulge and are like a bad mother to their more immature nature. But they've decided it's just and fair. And then they think other people should indulge them in that way too, because they think it's just and fair. So some people had a dream. They could have listened to their intuition about some people that they saw their truth was different. Some of you could have been dealing with a Libra, but could have been a Virgo or a Sagittarius, Aquarius, or a Leo, or a Scorpio, or an Aries. But you could have closed out something here, and some people are doing that right now. And everybody could be detaching from different people in their life. But again, the reason is, what is the driving factor for why they're doing it? High vibe people are doing it because they've seen the truth that their dream isn't going to come into reality there, because they're more motivated to be in relationships inspired by truth and love. The other people could be getting out of a relationship because the people in their life are more inspired by truth and love, and that's not their truth. And they, just like high vibe people call judgment on more shadowy people will call judgment on more high vibe people, because shadowy people could be trying to create this illusion about the truth of who they are. And if people eventually see through the truth, see through the illusion to see the truth, being illuminated to the truth, you're dead. You're not motivated and inspired to give birth to anything new, be more just and fair. My dream can't come into reality here. And when people see the truth of it, the shadowy people don't want to be in a friendship or relationship with them anymore either. And at any given time, maybe there could be people who they like living their life a certain way and repeating a certain pattern that they don't want to become independent of. If other people they get in friendship or relationship, and eventually those people want them to become independent of an old pattern or just be more independent in general, people can be codependent on their friend group, their family group, the world at large. The world's got to, I need these people to view me a certain way, or I'm codependent on those people. Other people could kind of see the truth of it and They know they're never going to become more independent. And that can be people who kind of have divided loyalty, and they kind of want to kind of go back and forth, but they'll always be one way or one group or something that is the primary foundation that they're more loyal to or codependent on, you know. And if you looked at it from the big picture, it's kind of like the world at the big picture represented by the devil. The devil wants us to be more about ourselves and more about these things of the world, does not want us to align with hope and faith and belief and love or God or loving and believing in ourselves, because we'd be less codependent on making our life about these things of the world. And we can get in more mismatched relationships where people are more about themselves, more about these things of the world, and other people could have more hope and faith and belief in love and a higher power, and other people don't think there is really any other higher power, even though they might profess that they do. So I would say the high vibe people are investing in their more hopeful, believing nature. They've shed an old layer of themselves. They're ready to give birth to something new out of love for themselves. I've been there, I've done that. There's nothing new to learn there. Who wants to come with? Being loving and encouraging to people in their life. Do you want to come with? But, things have to change. It can't be the same way it was. We all need to see the truth about some things, of what needs to go and what we take with. And some people will be like, no, I'm not ready to do that. And they'll keep repeating an old pattern. And their dream, harnessing this energy in a more worldly, shadowy way, is they might want to keep staying in denial of whatever it is they want to stay in denial about. Again, more about themselves, more immature, more prideful, more manipulative, want other people to kind of give up their truth and their dreams and just make it more about them. Well, high vibe is where you work together with people cooperatively, but some people don't really, they have their own idea of what they think is just and fair, and it's not working together cooperatively. It's more their way. So the shadowy people we would say, are going to invest in their more immature nature still, more motivated and inspired in all three of their fire sign energies within themselves, to still be more about the world, because they think that is the way to have victory and success, not kind of aligning with love and justice and fairness and having a little more hope and faith and belief in the divine. So they're going to put their trust in more of these friendships, these relationships, or their ego or image or status or money. And the other people are going to put work and effort into having some of these things of the world, things that are aligned with their truth, that they're motivated and inspired by, that they enjoy, using their unique talent, skills, and interests to be in jobs, friendships, and relationships with people that they enjoy, while listening to their intuition and the divine and love to kind of guide the decisions that they make. And the high vibe people have learned a lesson from this stage of life, and everybody has different lessons to learn at any stage of life, because say when you look back at these different ages that we can all have things that kind of are a big thing that manipulate us, and what could manipulate one person doesn't manipulate another person, but that could be a layer of that thing that kind of manipulates them, whether that's fear, whether it's ego, whether it's being full of themselves, whether it's being stubborn, whether it's being immature, whatever. They had their thing that they needed to work through. You had your thing you needed to work through. And you kind of got inspired within yourself to do that work, to work through some of the things that you knew kind of manipulated you. And you came out on the other side with the truth. Not as much up in your head in the 10 of swords as you used to be. So from the 10 down to the 2 of swords, you worked through the 8 of swords, something that at one time could have kind of had you up in your head, which is Gemini energy about what our truth is, and maybe kind of loving and believing in yourself. And you work through it. and you got more balance within yourself. The sixes can talk about balance. And maybe it was just to quit being more tipped out of balance, indulging poor behavior in yourself for others, to get more balance within yourself, and then want to be in more balanced relationships. And again, some of the people in your life who are moving forward with you in that way are people you're all moving forward differently, having a new beginning. And because you worked through something, the other people still maybe haven't worked through something they need to work through. And they'll keep doing kind of what they do until, we all live our life a certain way until we kind of can start to feel overwhelmed or kind of don't enjoy it anymore, or kind of feel like it's not aligned with our truth of who we are anymore, since we don't stay the same throughout our life, you know, each year, just like when you look back to when you were a ninth grader, a 10th grader, 11th grader, you weren't the same person. You didn't think and feel and view life and view yourself and view the world and what you thought was possible the same at each one of those ages of life. You learn lessons along the way. Hopefully you don't give up on your dreams, but we can all be at different stages. And sometimes some people, they're going, but we have to see the truth too, that sometimes some people, they may never get motivated and inspired to get more balanced within themselves, because the truth is, that is their truth, is to be more about themselves for these things of the world. Maybe don't want to be just and fair. Maybe don't want to take more inspired action in their fire sign energy to kind of come out from behind their ego and live their more authentic life. Let their more hopeful, believing nature out to play in the world. And it could be always letting their more egoic nature run their life, like their authentic nature looks out through the eyeballs, but they never let that aspect of themselves kind of be in the driver's seat of their life. No, my ego's going to run my life. You get hurt out there. And other people are like, I want to free myself to go live my authentic life. And so they do this work to love and believe in themselves and stand up for themselves and love themselves, to see how they kind of backstab and betray themselves, and then they can basically let the world or other people backstab and betray them and define their worth and value. It's like, I define my worth and value. And I think there's more to this world than just these things of the world. And I have truth and love and the divine to work with. And that's what I'm going to work with as I move forward and quit being more manipulated by people in the world. And some of the shadowy people in your life could see you doing that, but they're more immature nature or being more inspired and manipulated in their more Gemini Virgo nature of self. No, I'm not willing to do that. I'm not willing to do love. I'm not willing to be more just and fair. I'd have to get more balance within myself. I'd have to be more independent. I'd have to be willing to give birth to something new. No, I'm just going to keep doing this. So they go back and do that. So just like you are working with other people over here in Virgo energy are working with other people, trying to bring a dream into reality and seeing if they harness their Aquarius energy the same. Do we have a common dream? If we have a common dream, maybe we could work together on something. If we don't, I might have to call judgment on this. And, again, are you inspired within yourself to quit being more about yourself, or indulging yourself, or looking for someone to play the role of a mother in your life? We're not children perpetually. We are supposed to learn to be our own best mother, father, coach voice in our own head. And some people don't want to do that either. It's always looking for someone to play that role in their life. They get out of one relationship or friendship and it's to go find another one for someone else to play the role in their life. So it's kind of like they don't want to That's not their idea. The dream life is for them to get inspired within themselves, to love themselves, heal and grow, mature themselves, get more balance within themselves, so they get out of more codependent energy. They can try to get people in a relationship with them, and then they hope, because those people could love them, that they can keep them like trapped in a relationship with them where they don't have to heal and grow and mature themselves. And that's where eventually people feel overwhelmed and kind of feel backstabbed in the relationship, as they kind of realize the other people also don't want them to be more independent, and don't want them to be more balanced, and don't want them to give birth to anything new, because these other people don't want to give birth to anything new. So what we can do in our life is we can be loving and encouraging people to people in our life, all the different people in the world. That'd be like harnessing this in high vibe energy. But if some people have shown me and maybe been backstabbing and betraying and over keep showing, it kind of finally made sense of the Bible verse where Jesus says, don't throw your pearls to swine. Which when you read that initially, you're like, what? Gee, that sounds kind of harsh. I don't even know really what that means. But it's like when Jesus and the disciples went out to spread the good news, they didn't sit and cry at people's feet like, why don't you want to hang out with us? Why don't you whatever? It's like they just went to go work together with people in a just and fair manner, from a more faith-based, in a divine power type of way. And the people who turned their back to it and said, basically by their actions, that's not my truth, they wished them peace and they moved on. It's like God's going to work with everybody, but everybody's where they're at. I can only work together with people who want to work together with me cooperatively. Some of the people who might live more from their mind than their heart, and who are more about the world, could view the people who have more hope and faith and belief in love and listening to their intuition and listening to the little synchronicities in life and to guide them, could think that those people are immature. They don't know how this world works. And that they'll probably, I don't know, probably think things won't work out for them. It's like, well, how about you work with what you want to work with and go about it the way you want to go about it, and I'll go about it the way I want to go about it. And I guess, well, at least I know I'll be in more authentic, just, fair, balanced, loving, and encouraging relationships and work environments. You might be indulged, or you might find someone to indulge you, but to have those things of the world, or a status or an image, well, I hope sacrificing just and fair and authentic and loving relationships was worth it. It wasn't worth it to me. So I'm going to go find other people in the world who it wasn't worth sacrificing those things for, in order to have those things of the world, or be more about just myself. What's coming up for some people who harness some high vibe Scorpio energy? And so high vibe Scorpio is about exploring the mysteries of life, getting to know yourself emotionally, and then kind of willing to kind of ride the roller coaster of life emotionally. Doesn't mean impulsively and recklessly, but knowing that not everything you go invest in is going to work out the way you want, but you're not willing to not kind of go on that adventure to explore the mysteries of life emotionally. There is the highs, there is the lows, but without the highs, you don't have the lows. And some people are like, no, I'm going to stay on the merry-go-round of life. It might go just round and round and nothing new, no highs, no lows. And they have the free will to do that, if that's their truth. And it's just, for some people who are in friendship or relationship with them, they can live their life like that. It wasn't their truth. And it's like, you do you, I'll do me. I am more willing in the Page of Wands to have that more hopeful, believing spirit. So what's coming up for people who harness some high vibe Scorpio energy that they might not see coming up. The Five of Wands and Judgment. And the reason is because of the Virgo Hermit, which is what we started out with over here. And this is the Knight of Pentacles. High vibe Virgo energy is about doing this inner work to look at these things that cause us inner conflict and see how things within us kind of manipulate us, and then kind of see outside of ourselves different things and people that maybe try to manipulate us, and to see the truth of it. And we can have a hard time with some people in our life that they could be more competitive. It's Leo energy. They could be more competitive. They could be more prideful. They could hide the truth. They could try to, again, manipulate people. You're either working together with people, being authentic and just and fair from love, or you're kind of aligned with the competition and you're trying to maybe make yourself seem like you're that type of person, but that's not really their truth secretly. They harness this energy in a more shadowy way. They want to hide the truth that they have inner conflict about aligning with truth and love, being just and fair. Or they're very competitive in the world, and that's the most important thing, is to go compete in the world and to maybe have that certain status or image, or they have inner conflict about being just and fair because it would require them to grow up and mature themselves, and they don't want to do that. They have inner conflict about holding themselves accountable for their actions, and you just kind of see the truth of who's who. Who is inspired? That's like high vibe Five of Wands. Who is inspired within themselves to hold themselves accountable, to grow up and mature themselves, work through their fears, their insecurity, their pride, their ego, their stubbornness, this idea that they think it should, for some reason, should be more about them. Who is inspired to do equal give and take because they have been illuminated to the truth. And they hold themselves accountable to act with people in that truth. And the fives talk about change. As you go through this process, you're not the same person that you were. Because you came in contact with all these different people in the world, and it helped you get more clear about what your truth is and your truth isn't. And you had to see the truth that everybody's different. Not everybody's motivated and inspired by love. Not everybody wants to be in more just or fair relationships. And some people definitely don't want to do love because you get hurt doing love, and they're not willing emotionally to do love. They might like to stay in denial of that, but they could get in relationships and it's just more to indulge themselves in it. And so long as it's good for their ego and their image or whatever, they'll stay in it. But you'll never be able to have a more deep, meaningful relationship with them because they don't even connect in with themselves emotionally, aren't a very deep person. And as you quit investing your time, energy, and effort into people who are like that, that opens you up to be in flow, to find other people in the world who are. You're going to meet other shadowy people in the world because they exist, 50% of them at any given time. And you'll just listen to your intuition about who's who. You'll get to know people. It's like the Page of Wands, willing to get to know people. And some people are going to have a problem with you because you've learned these lessons in life about people like them. And if some of those people would like to indulge in a friendship or relationship with you, and you maintain balance within yourself and love yourself and stay focused on the big picture, not to take action more from your worldly egoic nature, well, they're like, well, damn, I thought we could have a fling or something. And it's like, no, but you can go have a fling with someone else. I emotionally, we are emotionally complex. I don't want to get myself emotionally tangled up in something that's not aligned with truth and love. So, I'm willing to get to know people. And if over time we find out that we're kind of more on the same page and are ready to move forward to take a relationship like to the next level, to get to know each other more, then we will. And with some of those people, you will. And as you're doing this, other people could be watching you to see, you know, where they think you're at on the spectrum. And just like you're kind of trying to figure out what the truth is about about other people. But things in your life will change because you've changed. And it could cause conflict and fighting. When one person changes in a dynamic, it changes the whole dynamic. It's like there were these unspoken kind of rules in the Taurus energy, like, well, I'm going to do this and then you do that. It's like playing this game of catch, throwing this ball back and forth. And like, I'm going to do this and then you're going to act like that. And then I'm going to say this and you're going to say that. And people have these expectations of how, and we could have done that at one point in time because that's how we viewed life. But then it's like, I don't want to keep doing that. I want to do something different. And then you're not like playing the game anymore. And then other people cannot like that because they like playing that game. And sometimes it can be a very unhealthy game. I worked with someone one time and they were talking about their spouse, and it's like it kept repeating over and over. It's like, how about if you just didn't even ask? If you know that it always makes you mad, you know, how about you just do it, put in earbuds, enjoy your night, enjoy your day, and you know they're not going to help anyway. So just do it and enjoy it, and then just decide if you want to keep doing it. And if they're not, you know, but there at least you wouldn't get upset at knowing they're not going to help and do the same argument back and forth every time. How about you just do it, and then, which was like cleaning up and stuff like that. And as you just enjoy your day and don't have that interaction, I don't know, eventually they either might start to work with you to do it, or, at least at the very end of the day or something. I don't know. I just thought, why keep going round and round about it every time? But anyway, you've seen some truth that was probably hidden before, or you healed or something, and you're not the same person you were before. And because you're inspired by truth and love and listening to your intuition, I think judgment goes in your favor. What's coming up for some people who might harness a more worldly, shadowy Scorpio energy? So that Seven of Wands was kind of stuck to behind the Ten of Cups, so we're going to kind of leave it that way. What's coming up for the shadowy people they don't see coming? The Eight of Swords, the Ten of Cups, the Seven of Wands, and the Four of Cups. Why? Because of the Judgment card. It's Judgment Day. Some people who are in a mental prison about taking that cup of love could have had people in their life and currently have people in their life, whether those people are in their own family, people that they've been long-term friendships with. But again, with some of those people, they harness their Seven of Wands Leo energy differently. Some people are more inspired to work through these things that manipulate them and keep them up in their head. And they work through those things to take that cup of love, to call judgment on some of those things so they can let those things go and move on. To not let those things keep manipulating them. It's like offering love to themselves and the situation so that they can move on and quit letting it manipulate them. And that's what gets the shadowy people up in their head, is because they don't ever do that. And they're defensive to taking that cup of love or doing love. They want the other people not to love themselves, just like they maybe don't love themselves, so that they can keep emotionally manipulating them. That's shadowy Leo, and shadowy in their own shadowy Cancer energy of how they use their emotions. They have things they do not want to deal with the truth of. And again, it could be things about themselves, and they want to keep staying in denial of the truth of it. No, 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 I'm this kind of person. I'm this kind of person. But they're not. They also could have other people that they indulge. Oh no, those people are these kind of people. Oh no, 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 they're these pillars of society or whatever. No, they're not. Again, we can have love for people who in turn have love for people in their life that manipulate them and don't want them to be more independent. Don't want them to give birth to anything new, whether that's their friend group or their original family or whoever. No, keep doing this. This is what we do. You should keep doing this. And then they kind of let those things and what they could align with. If it's not friends or family or something, it could be, you know, I haven't learned to love myself and I look to these other things that they could indulge in or just trying to manipulate and control people, not really do love or their fear or whatever it is. And more high vibe people in their life are going to call judgment on them. They see that things aren't going to change and the other people are ready to give birth to something new. And the other people are like, but that's outside my comfort zone. I want to keep doing this. That's unknown territory. I'd have to listen to love and intuition to guide me. And I don't want to do that. I want to just keep doing this. And they'll have people in their life. Eventually, they'll end up surrounded by more people who are like themselves. And they could end up in some friendships and relationships with people trying to shadowy energy, trying to create this illusion, more of a mental construct, living more from their mind than their heart. Look how happy we are. Look how great this is. Look how wonderful our life is. Look what I gave birth to. Look, I got a new friendship. I got a new job. Got in a new relationship. But they and the people they could more align themselves with, not everyone, but could be other people who are more defensive to love, being more authentically themselves, loving and believing in themselves, maybe more codependent, being in a relationship to be in a relationship, maybe more for the status or the ego or the image, or just fear of love. Are you fearful of love? Yeah, let's get in a relationship. Let's get married. Are you up in your head about things that have gone on in your life that you don't want to do with, that affect how you interact with people in a relationship? Yeah, let's get in a relationship. Let's get married. You know? Let's both be up in our head about these things that have gone on in our life that we don't want to deal with. And all those things keep us stuck. But instead of willing to do this work to free ourselves from that, we keep staying stuck. And we keep repeating an old pattern. But that could just be a phase of life some of them are at. And eventually some of them might do some inner work and one or the other will move on. Or they could move on together. But I guess I would just say they're in a mental prison that some people in their life are standing up for themselves and believing in themselves and loving themselves. And they can't the devil can't keep some people trapped. Those people are moving forward with or without them and calling judgment on them. And they have fear of closing out an old cycle or an old way of thinking or believing or something in order to go have that new beginning. And the other people are going to go have a new beginning, and the other people will repeat an old pattern. And I don't know how long a cycle lasts, but I know there's some astrology thing talking about with, if you follow that we're going into a big phase. Can there be all these small phases within it? But it's maybe like a 34-year phase of a major life phase. I know I want to get out of the things that aren't aligned with my truth. I do not want to be trapped in some things that aren't aligned with my truth for the next 34 years. So anyway, there you go, Scorpio. I wish you peace, love, and joy, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.